Hello everybody, it's Weeb here, and I thought for this video I'd do something a little different, mainly because one, I run out of ideas, and two, I thought I might as well explain the lore behind your favorite assassin supervillain, Ash. So if you don't know who Ash is basically the first character that I made, and I absolutely love them. So basically, it all started when Ash was around 3. And a hitman was, paid to kill Ash's parents. And only the parents. The organization didn't know that they had had a kid. So the hitman found Ash after he had done the deed and decided to, take Ash in. From then on, when Ash was about 3, you know, uh, they were teaching them, how to pronounce words, make sentences, all the basics that you would learn in preschool, except for they learned this on much earlier in life because the society that they live in taught the kids when they were much younger. Yeah, and so by the time they were about 6 or 7, they entered the Academy for Assassins, and they basically trained and trained and trained. And so, from all that training, they had learned, advanced fighting techniques, and honestly, they just worked their ass off. They were the top student for studies, both mentally and physical. And, from then on, they would have these random test days where basically they'd get paired up with a professional assassin and they'd basically help them. But sometimes the assassins that they were paired up would leave them, depending on how long it took the student to fulfill the request of a client that the professional was working for. And so, since Ash was top of their class, they would just help whoever kind of got left behind. And by this point in Ash's childhood, the guy that had originally killed her parents and kind of raised her for a little bit sadly passed away due to the hands of another assassin who is unknown. Let's see, they graduated when they were 15, top of their class, and honestly just kind of hit the ground running and, got a lot of requests, top of the school, which means they got the better clients. So one day while Ash was running through the streets because they had been compromised, basically a portal kind of opened up and, kind of just dragged them through. And from then on, by this point, they knew there were alternate universes. They just never thought they'd get pulled into one of them. So the one that they were pulled into, their alternate version of their self there had already died due to unknown causes. Let's see. And then from then on, they kind of wreaked havoc around the city and overall just created a name for themselves. and they destroy buildings, but instead of buildings with people inside them, they were kind of just abandoned. They never intended to hurt anybody, but every now and again, an abandoned building would be, you know, have like just like a random person checking it out, but the intent was never harmful in any way. That was just an accident. Yeah, and after that, kind of met the hero for the first time, and always thought of the listener, who happens to be a hero, as an obstacle to get over, but they never intended to hurt the listener, because they never really wanted to hurt them. The only reason they ever hurt people was because that's what the job required, and they just knew how to take orders from other people. And so now, we have this person who's kind of in their way, and they don't want to kill them. So their end goal was to kind of see if they could outwit the hero, and like kind of um think that they could get away with all the crimes that they've done. And so by the time that they kind of did it is around the time that the story originally picks up. And so at this point, they're about 20, give or take. But they're only really 20 in this universe that they were pulled into. They'd probably be around, what was it? About 22 to 24. And so now, basically, the listeners kind of found out, trying to get along with them. And at one point, they find out that Ash is actually a Neko, which I thought was kind of funny to write, mainly just because I think it was kind of a funny plot twist in this story. And at some point, there's this mage who also kind of comes from the same universe Ash has, except for on a different planet. And so, what that mage tended to do was go to a different universe and prank some people for the fun of it, because they were kind of living alone for a little bit, and they got bored, so they thought, might as well cause a little mischief while I'm alone. And so what happens then is the reader jumps through the portal with them, and kind of helps the mage prank him. So now, where we are at this point in the story is basically the mage managed to flip-flop Ash's and the listener's powers. So now all the strength, all the speed has gone to Ash, which in turn caused the listener to grow ears and a tail. And the running joke that I have is basically the listener tries to pet Ash's ears and tails all the time. So now Ash can really kind of get the upper hand, and the joke just kind of flip-flopped, and the listener never expected this to happen, obviously, so they're kind of just trying to figure this out, and it's great, and it's funny. But little do they know, one of Ash's classmates has kind of come back to haunt Ash, because Ash always helped them out of sticky situations, but it kind of made the classmate seem weak in a sense. So now they're just trying to get back at Ash and kind of trying to rescue them, to try to prove not only to Ash but herself and her old classmates that she's not as weak as it seems. And yeah, she may have needed Ash to get out of those sticky situations, but she can ultimately carry herself in the end. And yeah, now basically the listener's alternate version is trying to also track the the listener down and try to hurt them, because they think that they're the best version of that self. So in turn, there can't be any more. So what ends up happening is, now they're just trying to hunt them down to, one, bring back Ash, because they were good for making money in that organization, and two, to try to kill the listener that Ash has grown fond of. And that's basically where we're at this story. So now the universe as a whole is kind of all connected, just in an alternate timeline or in an alternate place. Like my dragon, Cora May, um, she is from a different planet. One that I have not figured out a name for, but basically on there we kind of have all the woodland creatures, and it's just a nice place overall to be. It's surrounded by nature, and like it's I'll explain more in depth about that in possibly another video. But then we have Ash's World. Ash's World is kind of focused around all the bad things, like hitmen, assassins, drug dealers. All the bad people are kind of there. But the cool thing about it is they don't really give a shit, you know, where you've come from, where you, they don't really care about your background too much, or like say the color of your skin. They don't care who you like. They're really supportive of the LGBTQ and like different races, because the planet honestly just has all these different races coming together. Big, small, medium, um all these different people are coming together, and so they just don't really care. And there's just it's just a really safe, it's not that safe, but it's definitely like kind of like a space safe. um, yeah, this is kind of unedited, so if you hear me stutter a lot, it's fine. But it's just really a safe place to go. Like, if people are gonna accept you if you're there, and I just think it's really cool about that. And yeah, I think that's all we're gonna have for this video, but if you liked it, good for you. Goodbye everybody, I'll see you in the next video. All my socials are in the description below. If you want to join my little forest, go check that out. Link in the description. Goodbye everybody.